The cold night wrapped around the small tent like a thick, suffocating blanket. Miles of barren, rocky terrain stretched out in every direction, with no sign of life in sight. Jack, a lone explorer on an unfamiliar planet, huddled inside his tent, preparing for a quiet night of rest. The flickering light of a small portable heater cast long shadows on the walls, and the silence was almost peaceful, just the sound of wind howling outside. He had been out here for weeks now, far from civilization, and he was used to the isolation. After a long day of scanning the planet's surface for any signs of life or valuable resources, Jack was exhausted. He rolled out his sleeping bag, ready to settle in for the night. The stars above were brilliant, but distant. He stared up at them for a moment, wondering if anyone else was out there, but quickly dismissed the thought. There was no time for loneliness. He had a job to do. As he crawled into his sleeping bag and began to close his eyes, the sudden sound of something brushing against the tent's fabric made him jump. It was a soft sound, almost like a whisper, but it was enough to send a shiver down his spine. Jack paused. His heart beat a little faster, but he shrugged it off. It was probably just the wind or an animal brushing against the side of the tent. There was no reason to be alarmed. But then it happened again, this time louder. Jack sat up quickly, his eyes wide. The noise came from the flap of the tent, just a few feet away from where he was lying. He slowly reached for his flashlight, wondering if maybe a small creature had wandered into camp. His fingers fumbled for the switch in the dark. And when the beam of light finally pierced the darkness, he aimed it at the flap. The wind howled outside, and for a moment, the tent felt fragile, almost like it might tear apart. Jack held his breath, listening. There it was again, louder this time. Someone or something was at the entrance, without thinking. He pushed the flap aside, the beam of light revealing the shadowy figure standing just outside. It was a girl, no more than 5 feet tall, with wild, untamed hair that seemed to shimmer. In the faint glow of the light, she was dressed in what looked like a thin silver fabric that clung to her body, yet she appeared to be shivering. Her arms wrapped tightly around her body, her eyes glowing faintly, locked onto his, as if she knew exactly where to look. For a second, Jack was speechless. His mind raced. A human, a survivor from another ship crash. He quickly glanced around the camp, wondering if anyone else was nearby, but there was no one. Just the girl standing there, her eyes never leaving his. "Can I help you?" Jack asked, his voice low, unsure of what to say. He wasn't used to seeing people on planets like this, especially not out here, alone in the middle of nowhere. The girl didn't respond immediately. She just stood there, her eyes slowly scanning his face, then glancing around the camp as if something was drawing her attention. Finally she spoke, her voice soft but clear, almost as if she were speaking from a distance. "I need warmth," she said, her accent strange, but Jack didn't dwell on it. He wasn't sure why, but something about the way she spoke felt off, like she wasn't entirely present. Jack hesitated, then motioned for her to come inside. "You're welcome to stay here for a while. It's cold out there." The girl took a step forward, her movements slow and deliberate. As she stepped inside the tent, the temperature seemed to drop, sending a chill through Jack's body. He quickly closed the flap behind her, though he didn't quite understand why it felt so cold. The heater, which had been working just fine a moment ago, suddenly seemed to have little effect. "Where did you come from?" Jack asked, trying to make conversation, though his mind was still racing with questions. The girl didn't answer right away. She moved silently to the far corner of the tent and sat down, her back against the wall. Jack couldn't help but notice how her skin seemed almost too smooth, too perfect. It didn't look like the weathered skin of someone who had been traveling through harsh conditions for days. He brushed the thought aside. Maybe she had some sort of spacesuit technology that kept her safe from the elements. "Are you human?" Jack asked, his curiosity growing. She tilted her head slightly, staring at him for a moment before replying, "I am. From somewhere far. A place you wouldn't understand." Jack frowned. What kind of answer was that? It didn't make sense, but then again, nothing on this planet made much sense. Jack had been alone for so long. Maybe his mind was playing tricks on him. Maybe this was just the start of something bigger. But he couldn't shake the strange feeling that something was wrong. Still, he offered her some food, hoping that would break the strange tension in the air. "Are you hungry? I've got some ration packs I can heat up." The girl's eyes flickered for a moment. She didn't answer immediately, but when she did, her voice was softer, almost as if she were lost in thought. "I am not hungry, but I need something else." Jack's gut twisted. What was going on? She wasn't acting like anyone he had ever met. Something about her wasn't right, and Jack could feel it deep down, even though he couldn't put his finger on it. The air in the tent grew colder still, and Jack shivered, unsure of what to do next. The cold had grown unbearable, seeping into Jack's bones as the girl sat silently in the corner of the tent. She hadn't moved much since he invited her in, her eyes following his every movement with a steady, unblinking gaze. Jack tried to shake off the unease creeping up his spine, but it was hard to ignore. Her presence was unsettling. He turned to the small stove in the center of the tent, trying to focus on something normal. A couple of ration packs and a cup of tea would warm him up. As he prepared the meal, Jack glanced back at the girl. Her eyes were fixed on him, almost too intently. Her face was perfectly still, not a single twitch or movement. And her skin seemed even colder now, almost unnatural. Like the glow of her eyes was drawing the warmth out of the air. For a moment, he wondered if she was studying him like an experiment. But then he quickly dismissed the thought. He had to be losing his mind from the isolation. He'd seen plenty of strange things during his missions, but nothing quite like this. The girl suddenly spoke, her voice soft, yet eerily clear, as though it didn't match the atmosphere of the tent. "You don't trust me?" Jack froze. Hadn't said anything, hadn't shown any sign of suspicion, at least not out loud. Yet somehow, she had picked up on it, as if she could read his mind. His heart raced a little faster, but he didn't let it show. "I don't know what to trust," he admitted, cautiously setting the ration packs down on the table. "You're not like anyone I've met before." Her eyes softened for just a moment, the faint glow dimming, but it was fleeting. The cold, emotionless expression returned quickly. "I am. It's not like anyone." Jack felt a chill run through him, but he did his best to remain calm. "Where are you from? What do you want?" Girl's lips curled into a slight, almost imperceptible smile. It was an expression that didn't quite match the stillness of her face, and it sent a shiver down Jack's spine. Warmth. But not the kind you think. Jack blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, she slowly stood up and walked toward the small heater, her bare feet making no sound on the cold floor of the tent. As she neared the device, the temperature in the room dropped even further. The heater, which had been working perfectly fine moments ago, sputtered and died, sending a rush of panic through Jack. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice tight with anxiety. His breath had started to fog in the air. The girl didn't respond. She simply placed her hand on the heater, her fingers brushing against the metal surface. Jack's eyes widened in disbelief as the temperature continued to plummet, and the air around him began to feel thick, like he was suffocating. "Stop," Jack demanded, panic rising in his chest. Her head tilted, her glowing eyes meeting his. With a strange intensity, "I do not control this. But I need you to understand." "Understand what?" Jack whispered, his voice barely audible now, the cold numbing his limbs. She stepped back, her gaze never leaving his. And Jack suddenly felt as though the entire tent was closing in on him. The walls seemed to pulse, as though they were alive. He looked down at his hands, trembling in the icy air. His fingers were turning pale, almost lifeless. "I don't know what you are," Jack muttered, his mind racing. "But this... this isn't normal." The girl's lips parted, her expression becoming more distant, more detached from reality. She raised her arm, pointing toward the flap of the tent, her voice now cold and hollow. "You are not meant to be here either, Jack." His heart skipped a beat. She knew his name. Before he could speak, the tent flaps began to shake violently, as though something powerful was moving outside. The wind had picked up, howling louder than before, but there was something else, something deeper, more insistent. A rumble beneath the surface of the planet, like the ground itself was shifting. "Get out," Jack yelled, grabbing his gear and trying to make sense of the madness around him. But the girl didn't move. She just stood there, her eyes unwavering, watching him struggle with the sudden storm. "You will learn," she said cryptically, her voice now almost a whisper, "that this world was never meant for you." The temperature continued to drop, and Jack could feel the pressure around him building, like the very air had become thick with a force he couldn't understand. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, and just as Jack's breath began to freeze in the air, she added, "It's too late to leave now." The night had turned into a living nightmare, cold seeping deeper into Jack's bones, threatening to freeze him from the inside out. The girl's presence was unsettling, her eyes glowing even brighter as the temperature in the tent continued to drop. But it wasn't just the cold that unnerved him, it was the way she seemed to know things. Things she shouldn't know. Jack stood near the small, flickering light in the corner, desperately trying to steady his shaking hands. He had to get a grip. His mind raced, searching for a logical explanation. But there was none. She was not human, that much was clear. And whatever she wasn't here for a simple escape from the cold. The girl, who hadn't moved since the temperature began to drop, finally spoke. Her voice was softer now, almost melodic, but laced with an eerie calmness. "You're frightened." Jack blinked, his heart thudding in his chest. "You're damn right I'm frightened," he replied, his voice strained. "Norca, I have no idea what you are or what you want." The girl didn't flinch at his words. She slowly stood up, her movements graceful, like she wasn't affected by the freezing air. "I am not what you think I am," she said, her eyes locked on his. "I did not come here for warmth. I came here for something far more... important." Jack's pulse quickened. Her words sent a jolt of fear through him, though he tried to mask it. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice more forceful this time. The girl tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes narrowing. "You've been alone for too long, Jack. You don't understand what's coming. But you will." She moved closer to him, and Jack instinctively took a step back, though he wasn't sure what he was running from anymore. "What's coming? What do you mean?" His breath came in short gasps, the air thick with tension. A strange smile curled on the girl's lips. The truth. The words hung in the air, heavy and foreboding. Jack swallowed hard. The truth. What truth? She paused for a moment, her gaze shifting to the small control panel beside the tent door. Her fingers twitched, and without warning, the lights inside flickered, the tent shaking as if the very walls were alive. Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he watched her, unable to move. Frozen in both fear and confusion, she turned back to him, her eyes now dark with intensity. "I am not just an alien. I am from a place beyond your understanding. A place where time and space have no meaning. And I am here because I need your help." Jack blinked, trying to process the words. "My help? You're crazy? I don't even know who or what you are." His voice cracked, the sheer absurdity of the situation finally hitting him. The girl stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "I am a traveler, Jack. My mission was to explore this world. But something went wrong. My ship, it malfunctioned, crashed here. And now ... I need you to help me fix it." Jack's brain struggled to keep up with the rapid fire of information. "Fix it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How? How am I supposed to help you?" Her eyes softened for a brief moment, and for the first time since entering the tent, she looked almost ... vulnerable. "I can't do it alone. Someone who can help me repair the systems of my ship." Jack's confusion deepened. "Repair your ship? What do you mean? Can't just use your technology or something?" The girl shook her head slowly, her gaze hardening again. "This world. It has effects on my ship's systems. The energy here distorts the fabric of my technology. I need someone who can think outside the boundaries of what you call normal." Jack swallowed hard. A million thoughts raced through his mind. He was a scientist, an explorer, but nothing in his training had prepared him for something like this. An alien who needed his help? On a planet that seemed to warp reality itself? The girl's voice grew quieter, almost as if she were speaking to herself. Time is running out. If I don't fix it soon, the energy fluctuations will cause irreversible damage. Not just to my ship, but to this world. What are you talking about? Jack asked, his voice tinged with desperation. What will happen if you don't fix it? She looked at him with a dark, knowing gaze. You'll understand soon enough. Everything here is connected. The ship, the planet, and you. The words hit Jack like a ton of bricks. Everything was connected. What did she mean? His mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of this bizarre conversation, but the pieces didn't fit. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, but something about her calm presence kept him in check. She wasn't a threat. At least not in the way he understood threats. The girl took a deep breath, as though preparing for something. There's no time to explain it all. I will show you what I mean. Before Jack could respond, the lights flickered again, and the air grew even colder. The temperature was unbearable now, and he could barely move his fingers. But as he glanced at the girl, her body began to shimmer. It wasn't just the cold, it was something more. Something that made her appear ... different. Her form began to flicker in and out of view, like a broken hologram, and for a split second, Jack thought he saw something else beneath the surface, something far darker. The girl's voice echoed in his mind. This is what happens when you meddle with things beyond your control, Jack. But you can help me fix it. You are the key. The air in the tent felt heavier than ever, like the very atmosphere was thickening with every passing second. Jack's mind raced, trying to process what the girl had just said. You are the key. The words echoed in his mind, making his head spin. What did that even mean? How could he be the key? He was just an explorer on a lonely planet, a man who had no business being wrapped up in something so ... alien. But as he watched her now, his doubts grew deeper. She had sat back down on the cold ground, but something was different, was changing. Her movements were slower, almost deliberate, and the light from the heater flickered, as if struggling against an unseen force. Jack could feel his heartbeat quicken. He was no longer sure if it was just the cold or the strange energy that surrounded her. But the feeling of dread was undeniable as he stared at the girl. Her eyes glowed brighter, piercing through the shadows, like twin beacons of something otherworldly. But that wasn't what shook him the most. It was the way her skin seemed to ripple, like a surface of water disturbed by something beneath it. Her form wavered, and for a brief moment, Jack could have sworn she looked translucent. As if her entire being was on the edge of breaking apart and reforming into something ... different. Are you okay? Jack asked, his voice shaky. He took a step closer, but instinctively. His body screamed at him to stop. The girl's gaze never left his as she replied, her voice low and almost soothing. I'm not what you think I am, Jack. I never was. Jack's throat went dry. He had seen strange things before, but nothing like this. He knew that whatever was happening, it wasn't just a malfunction or an illusion. It was something far more terrifying. Suddenly, without warning, the girl's form began to shift. Her body blurred, and for a fleeting moment, Jack saw multiple images of her flickering in and out of reality. It was as though she was stretching, the very fabric of space and time around her. Jack staggered back, his heart racing. What are you doing? He demanded. But the words felt useless against the power in the air. The cold had become unbearable now, and he could feel the temperature plummeting again. Her face remained calm, almost serene, but the faintest hint of something darker, something alien was creeping into her expression. I must adapt, she said, her voice barely a whisper now. The energy in this place is ... different. It affects me in ways you cannot understand. But I'm adjusting. Jack could see her skin tightening, the smoothness giving way to something more angular, more alien. Her features began to distort, stretching and reshaping as though her body were liquid. Her hands, once delicate and human-like, elongated and twisted, the fingers growing longer, more unnatural. Jack's stomach churned as he watched her, unable to look away, trapped by the strange force radiating from her. Double quotes, "What, are you?" asked, his voice trembling. His mind couldn't process what was happening before him. He wanted to scream, to run, but his feet wouldn't move. The girl, if it could still be called, that didn't answer immediately. Instead, her body seemed to phase in and out of existence, as if she were being pulled between dimensions. The ripples in her form were becoming more pronounced, and Jack felt the air around him warping, as though reality itself was bending under the strain of her transformation. Then it stopped. In an instant, the flickering stopped, and the girl stood there, her appearance completely changed. She was no longer the girl he had invited into his tent. No, she had become something else entirely. Her eyes were now glowing with an intense, unnatural light that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of the tent. Her features had sharpened, becoming angular and predatory. She no longer looked human at all. Jack stumbled backward, his breath catching in his throat. "What have you become?" The creature, because it was no longer a girl, took a slow step toward him. Her eyes were cold, emotionless, as if she had shed whatever humanity she might have had. Her voice was deeper now, more resonant. "I am a traveler, Jack, a being of energy and light. I was never human, never like you. But now, I am what this planet has made me." Jack felt his legs go weak, his body trembling with fear. "Why, why did you do this? What do you want from me?" The creature's lips curled into a smile, though there was no warmth in it, only a chilling emptiness. "You are the one who can help me. You are the key, whether you understand that or not." Jack took a step back, but his feet felt like they were glued to the ground. "Help you? What do you need me for?" Her eyes narrowed, the light within them burning brighter. "You don't need to understand yet, Jack, but soon you will. Everything is connected. And the moment I finish what I came here to do, you'll know everything." The air crackled with a low hum, and Jack realized he could feel the energy swirling around her, distorting the space between them. It was like nothing he had ever felt, cold, yet electric. The world around him seemed to bend, as though he were standing on the edge of a great unknown, and as the creature stepped forward again, Jack felt the first real wave of terror. It wasn't just the transformation he was witnessing, it was what was coming next. The girl, or whatever she was, hadn't just changed in body. Something much darker was at work. The air was thick with a quiet hum as Jack tried to steady his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He was standing in the same tent, but the atmosphere had shifted, changed beyond recognition. The cold, the strange energy, and the alien transformation had all coiled together, creating something Jack couldn't grasp. The creature, no longer the girl, moved with a slow, deliberate grace, every step measured, almost calculated. Jack's legs were rooted to the ground as if the very air around him was heavy, anchoring him in place. He could feel the chill of her presence wrapping around him like a cold, invisible hand. There was no escaping now. "You think you're safe, don't you?" The creature's voice cut through the silence, her words both distant and unnervingly close, like whispers in his ear. "You believe you're just an observer in all of this. But you're more than that, Jack. You are tied to this." Jack swallowed hard, trying to force the words out. "Tied to this? What are you talking about?" Her eyes, glowing with an unnatural intensity, fixed on him, her gaze piercing through him. It wasn't just her physical transformation that made her so alien. It was the sense that she was other, that she existed in a different reality altogether, and somehow he was caught in the middle. "I didn't come here by accident, Jack," she continued, her voice now laced with something that wasn't quite anger, but something more calculating, more controlled. "I came because this planet's energy is unique. It's precious, a rare anomaly in the universe." Jack frowned, confusion clouding his mind. "Energy? What do you mean?" The creature took a step closer, her eyes glinting with an almost predatory gleam. "The planet's core, its very essence, it holds power, a power I can tap into. 8. Power I can harness, and to do that, I need your help." Jack took a shaky step back. His mind raced as he tried to connect the dots. "My help? How can I help you with ... whatever this is?" She tilted her head, the motion slow and deliberate, as if she were considering him, studying him like a specimen. "You are the missing piece, Jack. The key. You've been here for far too long, haven't you? Alone, isolated. But you don't understand yet. Your mind is perfectly aligned with this energy. It's why I sought you out." Jack's heart skipped a beat. His breath became shallow as he processed her words. "My mind. What does that mean? I don't have anything to do with thought. With energy or whatever you're talking about." The creature smiled, but it wasn't a smile of comfort. It was a smile of cold certainty. "You do. Your thoughts, Jack. ... They resonate. Your isolation, your solitude, it's all connected. You've been exposed to this energy longer than you realize, and now it's time to unlock it. All of it." Jack's stomach twisted into knots. His mind reeled with questions, but none of them seemed to make sense. "I don't understand. What do you want with me?" Her eyes flashed as the creature stepped forward, closing the distance between them. "I want you to help me activate the core. I need your mind to sync with the planet's energy field. You're already connected to it in ways you can't comprehend." Jack's pulse quickened as her words echoed in his mind. "Activate the core? What happens if I do that?" The creature's smile grew, but there was no warmth in it. It's only a chilling sense of inevitability. "If you do what I ask, Jack, you will help me release a power far beyond anything you've ever imagined. The planet will shift. The energy will flow. And with it, the door to a new reality will open." Jack's mind raced, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "A new reality? What kind of reality are you talking about?" Her eyes softened for a moment, the intensity flickering just for an instant. But then, as if she remembered something, that cold, calculating demeanor returned. "A reality where I control everything. A reality where you and I are the rulers of a new order. This planet's energy will reshape everything. Time, space, life itself." Jack felt a surge of terror mixed with disbelief. He wanted to run, wanted to fight back, but the weight of her presence, the power emanating from her, made him feel helpless. He had no idea what she was capable of, and now she was asking him to help her achieve a goal that could change everything. "You can't just take this planet's energy," Jack said, his voice trembling but defiant. "There's no way you can control that." She raised a hand, and in that instant, the temperature dropped again, the air growing thick with the same strange hum he'd felt before. The walls of the tent shook, and for a moment Jack thought the entire structure might collapse. "I have already taken it, Jack," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper, "but it's incomplete. And you, ... you are the final piece." Jack's chest tightened as the weight of her words sank in. She had already begun tapping into the planet's power, and now she wanted to use him to finish the process. He was no longer just an observer, he was part of her plan. The creature stepped closer, her voice now filled with a sense of finality. "Help me, Jack. Together, we can rewrite everything. Time, space, the universe itself." Jack's mind screamed for him to refuse to run, but his body felt paralyzed. He could feel the pull of her words, the strange, irresistible force drawing him in. He wasn't sure what she would do if he refused, but he knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same again. Jack's breath came in ragged gasps, the weight of the creature's words still lingering in the cold, oppressive air. Everything had shifted. There was no going back. What had seemed like a random encounter, an alien seeking warmth, was now a twisted dance of manipulation and power. She had told him she needed him, but Jack had no idea just how deep her grip on him had already gone. Her eyes never left him, glowing with an intensity that seemed to burn through the very fabric of the tent. Jack could feel her presence wrapping around him, pressing in from all sides. The warmth of the heater was long gone, replaced by a biting cold that seemed to seep into his bones, slowing his every movement. "You think you can run, the creatures?" Voice echoed, sharp and mocking, "but there's nowhere to go." Jack's heart skipped a beat as the tent flap fluttered in the wind. But it wasn't the wind he was worried about. It was the way the air felt suddenly alive. He could feel the tent walls trembling, as if something outside was pushing against them, trying to get in. His instincts screamed at him to escape. But the creature's gaze kept him rooted to the spot. "You've already made your choice," she continued, her voice softer now, but no less dangerous. "The moment you let me in, you became a part of this. You will help me, or you will stay here." The way she said, "Stay here," sent a chill through Jack's spine. It wasn't an offer, it was a command. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't stay. There was no way he could allow her to use him to activate whatever dark force she was talking about. His thoughts flashed to his ship, his only way out of here, but could he even get there? The planet itself felt like it was fighting against him, as though every step toward escape was met with resistance, as if something was keeping him in place. "You won't escape?" the creature repeated, sensing his thoughts. She smiled, but the expression was all teeth. "I control the energy here. I control this planet. You will not leave unless I allow it." Jack's legs trembled. He couldn't stay. Here, his mind screamed for him to act. He had to move, had to do something. Without thinking, Jack darted toward the door, grabbing his gear in a frantic rush. The world outside seemed like a distant, unreachable reality, but it was his only hope. As he reached for the flap, the tent around him shuddered a violent, jolting movement that made the ground beneath his feet tremble. Then, before he could pull the door open, a wave of energy hit him like a physical blow. He gasped as the force wrapped around him, pushing him back. The world spun, and for a moment, he couldn't breathe. His lungs felt as if they were frozen solid. The air was so thick with the energy she was emanating that he couldn't move. "You really think you can just run?" Her voice was calm now, almost amused. "You are mine, Jack. You can't escape that." Jack tried to stand, but his legs buckled, and he collapsed to his knees. The creature stood over him, her presence overwhelming, blocking his every move. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the energy seemed to radiate from her like a pulsating wave, suffocating him. The creature stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. "You could have helped me willingly," she said, almost gently. "But now, take what I need whether you're willing or not." Jack's pulse hammered in his ears. His body was frozen, his muscles refusing to respond. He could feel her power coursing through the air, binding him, trapping him. The fear coursing through him was unlike anything he'd ever felt. This wasn't just a physical trap, it was a mental one. He could feel his will slipping, his thoughts clouding with doubt. "I'm not your prisoner," he whispered, more to himself than to her, but his words felt weak, powerless. The creature knelt beside him, her eyes soft for a moment, as if contemplating something. Then she leaned in close, her breath icy against his skin. "You already are, Jack. You've been my prisoner since the moment I found you. You just don't know it yet." With that, she placed a cold hand on his forehead. The moment her skin touched his, a shock of energy surged through him, a jolt that made his entire body convulse. Pain shot through his mind, and Jack screamed, his thoughts scattering as though they were being torn apart by the force of it. The creature's voice was the only thing that remained steady. "Will help me," she said, the words calm, almost soothing. "You don't have a choice anymore." The world around Jack began to blur. His vision swam, and the tent, the creature, even his own body felt like they were dissolving into nothingness. He could feel himself slipping into unconsciousness, his mind fighting to stay awake, to stay himself. And then, just as he thought he couldn't take it any longer, a flash of clarity hit him. His hand moved instinctively, reaching for the small communicator at his belt, the one thing that could still connect him to the outside world. His fingers brushed against it, but his strength was fading fast. "This is it," he thought. "This is my last chance." He fumbled with the device, his fingers weak and trembling, but the creature didn't seem to notice. She was too focused on maintaining her control over him. With every ounce of strength he had left, Jack activated the communicator, sending out a distress signal. Jack's mind was a blur of panic and desperation as the creature's energy swirled around him, tightening like an invisible vice. His chest felt constricted, his breathing shallow, every muscle in his body screaming for release. The tent, once a place of solitude, now felt like a Tuma prison made of fabric and raw power. The creature towered over him, her glowing eyes watching him with a cold calculating intensity. For a fleeting moment, Jack thought he could hear something. Faint rhythmic hum like the pulse of the planet itself, resonating with the creature's every word, every movement. It was as though the entire world had become an extension of her will. "I have what I need from you," the creature said softly, her voice more ominous than comforting. "You've already made your choice, Jack. There is no turning back." Jack's heart pounded in his chest. His mind was screaming no, but his body refused to respond. He was trapped in this suffocating, oppressive space with no escape in sight. The communicator at his side, his last lifeline, was still active, but there was no way of knowing if anyone had received his distress signal. Even if they had, how long would it take for them to reach him? He didn't have time. "What if I refuse?" Jack's voice came out rough, barely above a whisper. He was too weak to fight, but the question needed to be asked. The creature's lips parted in a smile, but it wasn't one of warmth. It was a smile of dark amusement, as though the answer was already written in the stars. "Refuse, you think? You have a choice now?" Her words echoed in his mind, reverberating through his thoughts like a sonic wave. "I told you, Jack. You are the key. You always have been. You are already bound to this place. To me." Jack's eyes darted around the tent, as if looking for an escape, a way out of this nightmare. The walls seemed to pulse, bending under the weight of the energy that surrounded them. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. "Please." His voice faltered, the weight of his words pressing down on him. "I don't want this. I don't want any of it." The creature knelt beside him, her eyes still glowing with that unnatural light, and her expression softened ever so slightly. "You don't have to understand, Jack. You never did. All you have to do is make a choice." Her hand reached out toward him, hovering just inches from his face. The air between them crackled with raw power, the intensity so strong that Jack could feel it in his bones. "Join me," she said softly, "and we will rule this world together. Your mind, your abilities can help me reshape everything. Time, space, the very fabric of reality. It all bends to our will." Jack's heart skipped a beat. Time, space, reality? Her words were tempting, almost hypnotic. But deep down, Jack knew that to accept her offer would mean giving up everything. It would mean becoming a part of something far darker, something he couldn't fully comprehend. He shook his head, trying to clear the fog from his mind. I can't help you do that. I won't become what you want me to be." Creature's eyes hardened, the soft glow now intensifying to a burning, almost blinding light. "Then you will stay here, trapped, alone, forever." Jack's mind screamed. The choice in front of him was agonizing. On one hand, there was the promise of power control over the very forces that shaped the universe. On the other, there was his humanity, the part of him that still clung to the belief that he could resist, that he could somehow fight back. But what if there was no fight left? His body ached, his strength draining away as the creature's presence wrapped tighter around him. The offer she had made, the chance to change everything, was too big, too tempting to ignore. His rational mind fought against the impulse, but the pull of her words was irresistible. He could feel it, an almost magnetic force drawing him closer to her, urging him to accept, to join her. What if this is my only chance? He thought, what if this is what I was always meant to do? His breath was shallow now, his thoughts tangled with the weight of the decision before him. The creature's power was overwhelming, and he could feel his mind bending to her will. The world outside his life, his mission seemed like a distant memory, fading with each passing moment. But then, in the depths of his thoughts, a flicker of clarity pierced through. No, this is not me. I will not become this. With all the strength he had left, Jack made his decision. No, he whispered, barely audible. I won't join you. The creature's face contorted with fury, the glow in her eyes dimming as she leaned in closer. You've made your choice then. But know this, Jack. There is no escape from me. Not now, not ever. The energy around them surged, and Jack felt his body convulsing under the weight of her power. The very fabric of the tent trembled as if it were about to collapse. His mind screamed, his thoughts slipping away. But one final image flashed in. His mind a memory of his ship, the bright lights of home, the hope of escape, and in that instant, Jack felt something change. He wasn't sure how or why, but the energy around him shifted. It was as if the very essence of the planet was reacting to his defiance. The ground beneath him vibrated, and for the first time, he felt the pressure of the creature's grip begin to loosen. The creature stepped back, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," she breathed. "You shouldn't be able to." But before she could finish her sentence, the tent erupted in a blinding light. The energy surged one final time, and then, as quickly as it had come, collapsed into silence. Jack's body hit the ground, and everything went black.